we wanted to start to encapsulate and show an entire feature set across a custom demo here. So what we're going to show is some of the customer journey, starting off with Service Cloud Voice, and then move more into some of that Einstein Bot and digital channel type journey that Randy was also outlining as well. So here on my screen, we're actually going to go ahead and place a call as a customer to a company called NerdFlash Technologies. It's going to be our make-believe network solution company. And you'll see here as a customer, we immediately will have an experience that will personalize, predict, and also be proactive around some of those case management workflows that we have built out, and then also provide the customer with a level of self-service and process automation as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give the NerdFlash Tech support number a call, and we're going to listen in to see exactly how we build that experience using Service Cloud Voice.
Hi there, Eric. Thanks for contacting NerdFlash Technologies and being a loyal customer. I see you've recently purchased our latest gigabit routers and switches. Is this why you're calling in today?
Yes, we're currently unable to connect any devices.
So sorry to hear that. On your main network server, are there any indicator lights flashing in green?
No, there aren't.
And can you confirm power is getting to each of the switches? Each switch should be in green in the mobile diagnostics application.
No, there's a few switches that are in red.
For routers that are not receiving power, please power cycle them. You can do this by shutting off the router, waiting 10 seconds, and turning it back on. Were you able to solve the issue?
Yes, that worked.
Great. What else can I help you with today?
I'd like to ask an expert a few questions about the setup guide.
Setup guides are best reviewed with a member of our technical support team. Let me get you over to an engineer who can help. Thank you for calling. Your call is very important to us and will be answered in the order it was received.
And then from here, so you saw that customer journey and that experience as they called into that customer support line. And then from here, the bot is actually able to provide some level of self-service, drive some of that case deflection, and then where and when we need to, we can actually pass the conversation in this voice call record in real time to the next available agent here. So as I set myself available on omnichannel, you're going to notice that we can route this specific voice call record to the agent that has the right skills and availability to actually handle this specific inquiry here. And now if your team is currently leveraging omnichannel today, you'll notice as well that you can actually route the voice call record in real time, just as we do with other digital channels. So as your team may be using email to case or web to case, Salesforce chat, or perhaps some of the messaging channels like SMS, we can also now natively route a voice call record with omnichannel, which is extremely powerful. As I mentioned, we can start establishing the right cues and skills for agents, but also actually for the first time with Salesforce have a true blended agent that can operate across multiple channels here. So from the agent perspective, the first thing you'll notice is we have the call controls embedded right within omnichannel, where we can control if we mute ourselves, end the call, place the customer on hold, perhaps transfer the call if needed. But we have, again, natively the ability to have these widgets, not only in the omnichannel feature here, but also embedded throughout the Service Cloud console as well. So you can see here, we can control that call experience and any of the activities that we need to leverage as we manage the case with the customer here. You'll also notice as we pop this call here, if you're leveraging any other telephony platforms with Salesforce, undoubtedly you'll have that kind of lack of native capabilities with the objects in Salesforce. And so now for the first time, we have this voice call object that allows us to actually track and have a clean data model specifically for a voice call. So you'll see here, these are some of the basic fields that voice call records have. So we can start identifying caller numbers, start and end times, We'll see later on how we build some basic analytics around some of the data here. But what this initially does is it gives us the capability to also screen pop and drive a specific workflow or case management process across the organization. So you'll see here on the left side, we've perhaps performed a lookup based on that number and popped the contact information for this customer. So we know exactly who we're speaking to right when the call gets routed. And we've also triggered an initial case management process as well. So you'll see here on the right side, we've actually got ahead and automatically created a case and perhaps even pre-filled some of that case with some of the information that VoiceBot has collected prior to escalation, and also giving this agent a head start on actually how to handle this case here. But notice how fluid and intuitive this experience is from a customer perspective. Instead of kind of having to kind of toggle between different screens to be able to manage just that interaction, we're consolidating that process and using that case object and that voice call record to be driving that process and governance across as well. Notice as I'm speaking in real time as the agent, this is one of the most powerful features around voice to text transcription that happens in real time. So this not only tracks exactly what the agent and the customer are saying back and forth on the call, it also provides the agent with that initial conversation between the voice bot or that IVR and the customer, really enabling that we provide enough context to the agent to be able to provide the best support possible. And what it also enables us to do is we can also have a clear record of this transcription and store it based on that contact or that voice call or that case. And now we have a clear indication of exactly what that conversation entailed of. So as a supervisor, which we'll take a look at in a second, instead of imagining kind of going through listening to recordings of previous cases, we can go ahead, leverage that data that we have specifically in text and kind of have a quick summary view to really expedite their process there. So for some of the common issues that we have here, again, we chose more of a high-tech company that might be have some more complex issues here. You may have an associate that's relatively unfamiliar with every single process that they might need to go through to perhaps troubleshoot a product. And you'll see here we can start leveraging that real-time voice-to-text transcription to drive next best action type workflows. So you'll see here we're able to identify based on what the customer's been asking for that they need help with perhaps a router update process. And once we accept this, we get even further into providing that agent enough context and data to really drive the average handle time and efficiency of their workflow. So you'll see we can start being prescriptive around a call script, and you'll see we can drive some of the personalization and the themes. We often know working with contact centers, there needs to be a certain language or methodology across how we ask questions, how we greet customers, so we can use that to drive the conversation. And then we can also couple that and also start to collect information that we need to actually go about any kind of process automation. So you'll see we know the customer's looking for questions or some help around setup guides. It could be more specific questions. So we know it's usually about product specifications, maybe an update procedure, or perhaps something else. And we can use this to guide that conversation, have some dynamic responses based on our inputs, and then use that again to kind of drive the call scripts and additional automation from a workflow perspective. You'll see here we can even start to be transactional across these next best action workflows. So in this case, because the customer is inquiring about updates, we determine the best step is to perhaps subscribe them to some alerts. And we can actually take action on that right within this flow here. So we can subscribe them to email, opt them in for perhaps SMS notifications. But you'll see here we can consolidate that workflow, tackle multiple pieces of that at once, not only by providing the scripts, but again, also providing that specific standard or process that the support team needs to adhere to as well. And one of the other features that we wanted to highlight was here at NerfFlash, we have a product team that also builds additional products and assets to really enhance the experience here. One of the actual features I did want to demonstrate as well was how we leverage something like sentiment analysis in real time. So let me go ahead. I'm going to mute myself as the agent and speak on the customer side. And you're going to hear perhaps a customer providing positive feedback and see what that triggers, and perhaps negative feedback as well. We are having a great experience with your routers. So you'll see there we had that input tracked in real time for voice to text transcription. Here's actually a quick sentiment analysis that we've conducted across, so we can actually see and track this throughout the conversations and cases, how effective or what this conversation looks like from a customer perspective. Let me show you perhaps if we provide some negative feedback, what that looks like as well. I'm a bit frustrated with the router setup guides though. And you'll see here, we again kind of update that sentiment model. Again, this could be used for analytics that we'll show in a little bit, but it provides the agent in real time an indication of exactly perhaps the temperament of the customer, even prior to escalation. So if they're exhibiting any kind of frustration or poor experience initially with that bot, we can provide that context to the agent, drive some routing rules if needed. So if we understand it's a high profile customer exhibiting frustration, that can also build some of the routing rules within omnichannel to perhaps route them to a tier 2 or perhaps a tier 3 support line as well. And then also you'll notice from an efficiency standpoint, we also can start to drive an automated search through knowledge based on exactly what the customer is asking for. So the next use case we wanted to start demoing as well was how customers may interact on digital channels. So we'll follow a similar kind of storyline here with the same customer. So perhaps they've received the service they need on that initial phone call. They continue installing the routers throughout their facilities, and then they actually realize they need some additional support. And in this case, perhaps they're in an environment where it's best suited for them to access digital channels, perhaps on a desktop. You'll see here, this is a sample of a Salesforce community where lots of our customers identify as destinations to actually enable digital channels on. And as the customer, you'll see here, there's a call to action or a quick button to actually engage in chat. And you'll see here, once we start initiating chat, we can again customize the initial conversation and personalize it based on the information we know about this customer. So similarly to as you heard with the voice bot and that experience there, we can also drive the same kind of personalization across by identifying the customer and then also trying to be proactive around service. So we heard the voice bot say, I saw you purchase some routers. Do you have any questions about it? In this case, we know perhaps based on their activities on a community or on a mobile application or a website, they may be in the process of troubleshooting some router issues. And again, the bot can drive that personalization and identify that. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I'm having some problems with that. And here's where we can leverage natural language. You heard that with the voice bot, how we take an input from the customer, exactly what they're saying, identify what that use case is, and then perhaps provide a specific response back based on how we train the bot. And that similar process is used across digital channels here, leveraging the Einstein bot. So I can say something like, I'm getting error code. And then from here, the bot can actually identify this specific error code based on some natural language and utterances we've trained the model on. Perhaps try to provide some troubleshooting steps back to the customer here to try to drive, again, that self-service or case deflection. For the purpose of the demo, we'll show perhaps some of the methodologies that we use to try to, again, drive self-service. Perhaps that initial answer wasn't as effective or helpful as we needed it to be. We can start to use some fallback strategies and start to leverage perhaps knowledge articles and content across the support community. Here's an example of how we use one of our NeuroFlash products called the NeuroFlash UI UX Enhancer. And here is an example of one of the visual components we have around mini cards. So this is a great way we can kind of consolidate a large responsive text into a more consolidated format visually. And you'll see here, these actually provide links to knowledge articles. So it can be used not only to provide some of that self-service conversationally, but then also help the customer navigate or search through the site exactly what they're looking for. You can also see our UI UX Enhancer also gives us the ability to start embedding other visual components like videos, so we can actually bring that experience right within chat. Again, try to consolidate exactly what they're looking for. We see incredible results with customers when we're able to provide enough content right within chat and then kind of minimize exactly the areas they need to navigate to. Now we'll say for the purposes of this demo, we provided perhaps enough content for the customer's self-service. Maybe they, again, need some additional questions answered. So I'll say, I have some additional questions. And you can see here again, we can train the bot on how to perhaps identify those key areas of that conversation where we need to get this over to an agent. So similarly to as you saw with Service Cloud Voice, we can also escalate the conversations in real time right through Omnichannel, route them based on the skills and availability of that agent. This could be an agent that is also working or is assigned to the voice channel as well. So again, we can have a true blended agent with the experience here. And you'll notice we can have a screen pop of the exact information that we've collected from the bot, pop the contact information, automatically create that case and start pre-filling it with some of that information we've collected during the interaction to drive that average handle time. And then similarly, you'll see here on the left, we have that full bot transcript before it was escalated. And again, now this agent can kind of go through, read through this initial transcript, gain an understanding of exactly where this customer is getting lost in the process, and then provide additional support from there. Notice from a customer experience, they're contained right within the same chat window, so there's no need to have them switch channels or kind of navigate across, and they're provided a great experience as they're continuing to leverage the community. They can interact with this agent and ask additional questions from there. Now, across all these channels and these experiences, one of the most powerful capabilities is from a supervisor perspective. So let me hop in and show you some of the capabilities we now have from Omni Supervisor. You'll see here, this is the agent I was acting on behalf of for both the demonstration kind of journeys that we showed. And you'll see here now we have, again, that true notion of a blended agent across channels. So you can see this agent is staffed across the voice channel and chat. We can understand in real time what their capacity and workload is across. And we can also start to monitor their performance across all their channels, exactly what's occurring for each and every interaction they have with the customer. For example, from a Service Cloud Voice perspective, we can actually monitor that real-time voice-to-text transcription here, and even start to perhaps provide some coaching or guidance back to the agent. And we can actually operate off of a similar workflow perhaps for that agent in chat to really see in real time their performance and how they're operating as well. And to sum everything up, we've here in NeuroFlash, we've created a set of analytics, as Randy mentioned, to really dive into some of the KPIs, start measuring performance, and really identifying areas to optimize and improve. What we find is best practice as well is having the right KPIs is very important, but then also having the right tools to actually identify root causes and establish actionable plans to move forward with any improvements is also just as important. So you'll see here, this is an example of a Service Cloud Voice dashboard with some basic KPIs around call volume, average handle time, first-time response rates. The real power of the platform that you see here, though, is that we have a native data set for all of our voice metrics. So as opposed to having to tie in from a third-party telephony solution, existing reporting that they may have back into Salesforce, we have that native data model that we have now within Salesforce to now effectively report on the voice channel. And as I mentioned, with these types of tools, we can also start to drill down or filter into specific metrics. So you'll see here, I'm actually filtering by a specific case type or a disposition. And we can see how all the reports and dashboards dynamically surface some insights to be able to drive some action across. As we saw with any of the conversational automation that we saw either with Service Cloud Voice or with the Einstein bots on web chat, we can also start to aggregate all those experiences within this chatbot performance analytics dashboard. This is what we refer to as our NeuroFlash Insights package. So it really takes analytics to another level here. We again can start to track some of the high-level KPIs about interactions and engagement, but then also start to take a closer look at some of the KPIs around case deflection rates to see how effective the bot content and responses are to help customers self-service. And then also, as we saw, as that bot passes conversations to our team of experts, how effective is it at reducing average handle time and providing enough context to drive those workflows there? And you'll see here again with that native data set, we can start to track the performance of these interactions and automation over time with some trend lines. And we can get even more granular with specific bot trends and use cases to identify perhaps how effective these are over time. As with any of the vignettes or the use cases that we show with the technology today, it's certainly a journey. So it's not something that necessarily goes live and is ready to go over the course of the product lifecycle. It's really about looking at the analytics, identifying some trends where it's doing well, where it's not, and continuing to identify areas to optimize and fine tune the performance of this. And lastly, this is a contact center dashboard that really consolidates the experiences that we showed across those different journeys there. So whether it's pulling information from Service Cloud Voice or aggregating the data from chat and Einstein bot experiences, we can now see in detail exactly what our case management strategy looks like across the team on a day-to-day basis, understand in real time what the case volume looks like, the case types, and then also provide us a level of detail to be able to make some important decisions around resourcing or staffing that we may need to make as well.